Hey, if you're an AP European history student, you're probably learning about the Enlightenment right now, and I just want to give you a crash course over everything that you need to know to be successful. And we're going to start out with two definitions. Number one is the state of nature. The state of nature is the hypothetical condition of what people would be like in the absence of civilization. So you can think about this as like, let's all just get plopped out on an island somewhere. How would we treat each other? Would we want to seek the well-being of others, or would we fight against each other for survival? That's definition number one. Definition number two is a social contract. A way to think about a social contract is that it's an implicit or explicit agreement of how we treat each other in society. So if we're looking at that from a political standpoint, you could think, well, I, living in the United States, agree to abide by the rules of the United States. And if I don't, if I break laws, then I will face consequences. But you can also think about it as more implicit than that. In your classroom, it's probably expected that you raise your hands before you start talking. That is a similar idea, maybe a more relatable idea of a social contract. Now, with those two definitions down, let's talk about these philosophers. We're going to start out in England, looking at Thomas Hobbes and John Locke. Technically, the AP European History CED does not care that you know about Thomas Hobbes, but I like to use him as a foil when I talk about John Locke, because these are both English philosophers who grew up and were influenced by the English Civil War, and they both responded to that chaos very differently. Thomas Hobbes supports absolutism. Thomas Hobbes says that in the state of nature, life in the state of nature is solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short. He thinks that man will be at constant war with other people, and the only way to prevent people from inherently just killing other people is by having one strong absolute leader who will rule over everyone with like a strong iron fist. And this is in contrast to John Locke. John Locke says, actually, in the state of nature, people are pretty reasonable. And actually also, people are born with three natural rights: life, liberty, and property. And it's the duty of the government to protect the people's rights to life, liberty, and property. And if the government is not doing that, it's the duty of the citizens to overthrow that government and establish one that does. And that, leads to the American Revolution. Follow along if you want to learn about more of them, because in my next video, I'll talk about the French.